Hello and welcome back to Undercover. This is Enchanted, and today we'll be heading through Pagoda and seeing what we can find here. First of all, the penultimate one of these blocks. That's nice. One more of those to get. That's exciting. We have quite a few things to do in this area because when we were last here we didn't really have much we could do because we didn't have as far disguises, but now we have plenty of studs, we have plenty of bricks rather, and we have plenty of different powers we can play with, so let's see what we can do with that, shall we? Start off with something that smells really small but nice. A nice quick way across the river here. Canal thing. And over here we have something we couldn't do either as well, because we didn't have this particular power last time we were here. The colour gun. We especially didn't have the super colour gun. But luckily these are fairly easy to find because they're right at the corners of the building, and I quite like the layout there. That the uncoloured ones are actually at the corners. It makes it easy to find where they all are, as opposed to having to scour the entire wall to find them. I also like the smiling apples in the window of the shop, that's cute. They're really happy apples. We have a large amount of character tokens and a large amount of bricks to get as well, so let's get underway, shall we? The Indulger rather, I guess. Which is as you saw from the icon, the stretch limousine. What? Specifically, I believe it's the one that we were driving Forest Blackwell in. And while we're here, let's also take care of this free run that we unlocked right at the beginning of the game, but just never did, because we just never had the reason to come back here for this, yeah. Now we have to do this on time limit, what fun. I like the unfinished parts of the sign, like the seat at the back of it, that kind of stuff, or all the little bits of, like the, behind the scenes sort of at Chan's limousine. That's a pretty interesting visual, that. To have like discarded C, that kind of thing, from like probably a form of the first draft of the sign. I like all the pigeons on this rooftop as well. They add some flavour to this food, and I quite like. Never a fan of those kind of wall jump things, because in this game they can be a little finicky, as we've seen in previous videos, where maybe once where I had to wait and slide down them again to be able to continue the jump up without just crashing into a bare wall. It's a little obnoxious, but it's not too bad. This is going to be showing off where all the, if we didn't have the super colour gun, that's where we'd get our colours. But we do, so we don't need it. I also like the model limousine on top of the limousine parlour. I think it's a pretty good limo rental place. Parlour? I know what I mean. Finally we can enter the showroom, which is displaying for some reason the super brick. Maybe it's a flat pack limousine, I don't know, maybe it's build your own. Jetpack's always very handy. It's always fun to have a reason to do that because you've already shown off the proper route. Just, you know what, forget it. That's a bit of a sneaky little ledge, but over here we have Quentin Spencer. Fairly basic to get character token, but don't really have much of a reason to come around there for that yet. And I like the design of this block, where it's kind of these steps going up with the rooftops. That's an interesting visual, and it makes for interesting gameplay as well when we come back here to do our primary mission here. But for now, let's just take care of this cat. And see what else we can find before doing that drill thrill. Because I believe up here there's actually something a bit more important to get out of the way that I just want to get done now. This. The vehicle chase. Yes, of course I failed the first time and had to redo it. He's got a nice car this time around though. This little red number that I quite like. But of course the car stops all the way over there. Is there anywhere near where we actually are? Which is just rude. Come on. Give me the car a little closer. That's just cheeky. I also like that Chase automatically puts a siren on when doing these car chases. You don't need to press the button yourself. He just does it. Luckily, he's actually already getting hurt by random pedestrians because he's kind of an idiot, this guy. So I got kind of lucky with this particular one's AI, because he just kind of got a bit lost and didn't quite know what he was doing, and then this happened, and then things went poorly for me, but luckily I was able to catch up because he's going this way anyway. Luckily, there's no one really in the park to run from here. I don't know where he'd be running to, or where he'd be trying to park, but there's nowhere here that he can actually hide, so we have plenty of time to catch up to him and do that. Now we only have one more vehicle bomber to go. Then we're finally done with my least favourite minigame. Yay. And over here we have a super Vic we can grab. Along with this pool over here. First of all though, that's something we'll come back to later. I didn't actually notice that pool, despite that tooltip, because I'm kind of an idiot. For now, what we're actually coming over here for is this. But can you blame me for not noticing it though? I mean, those pools basically just never come up. But let's go back up here, so that we can actually do this minigame, shall we? Our usual strategy applies. Start from the top, work your way down layer by layer. In this case, a nice little zigzag. That's cheeky. You can just see what's kind of hidden behind the thing there. That I spent a bit of time trying to get because I didn't realise I hadn't already got it. That I had already got it rather. Because it's so hard to see that one. The camera just doesn't take you to it at all, so I didn't realise I had already got it. Either that or the game's nice enough that it doesn't count that one. Or the number was just off center. It's very weird, but that one is behind that wall. It's a very poorly placed one, in my opinion. But there we have this rooftop completely cleared. It is an interesting architectural visual. I quite like the way the roofs step up like that. There's a lot of little areas like that that give each of these areas a unique feel, and I always appreciate that. Just want to free those green apples, whatever they were. Over here we have a fairly well hidden coffee break. It's well hidden because while you can see the table on the mug, you can't actually see the little logo on the floor properly. Much like the safe, it can be very easy to... the safe in Chan's scrapyard, it can be very easy to miss like I did like an idiot. And this is me showing off something interesting that I'd forgotten about. If you don't make the jump, this awning gives you a bounty to get up there. So the game takes mercy on you on that particular sequence, where it gives you another way to get up there if you screw up the jump. That's always nice. We have a mini brick over here. Cute little weenie brick. And then a million pigeons to scare off. Because I'm a giant child. And something I completely forgot about. We never actually completed these, did we? Got the one at the restaurant, got one at the courtyard thing, but we didn't get this one up on the rooftop. So now finally we've spawned that character token. But now we're pretty much done up here, so let's see what else we can find here, shall we?
Feeling good.
Starters underneath the restaurant is a small fire, which is not good. This is also me remembering how to get up on the rooftop of the restaurant as well, because I've kind of forgotten where the pole was. So it took a little bit of wasted time trying to find that. So before we take care of that crate, 'cause I think you can probably guess what's in there, we have something to take over on this roof first of all, which is very easily missed and easily forgotten about because it's such a small roof where there's barely anything there. But there is actually a character token here, as you see from afar there, glinting in this little room here. And now we have the fire and we can break in there and grab it. So, don't mind if I do. And of course the majority of the characters we get in this area are either cops or criminals because of Chan's Scrapyard being here. And cops and criminals being the majority of this game's characters. There's like, there's a lot of them. Well, that's not bad, there's also civilians and specials of course. I think generally there's like 35 of each of cops and criminals, there's like, and then there's about like 35 and 45 of the two groups of special characters. And then there's about, another 30 that's like, random citizens, and another group that's like all special characters in the service industry. There's just so many different like massive groups that the miners and those kind of specialist jobs don't really get much of a look in. They only really get a few each, not even a page each of those. So it's very kind of interestingly lopsided in that way, in that the actual usable disguises that have an actual use are few and far between, compared to the literally hundreds of disguises with no real powers at all that are just there to fill in the world. And that helps make the world feel a bit more organic. Because of course most people are average Joes. That's why they're average. One thing I really like with this game is on the little highways and stuff like that, you might have seen these little signs cropping up. Include like the one on that building, these big panel signs that show where which areas you're going to, and I quite like the visuals there because it makes more sense than having the whole like writing, because of course you won't be able to read it very fast going like at the speed this game tends to go, but having a big picture here of like a leaning tower, for example, for Fresco, or a pagoda for Pagoda, it helps know at a glance where you're going if you're not familiar with the world like I am. You have those dragons, you know, they always kind of like see them and think, do I have to paint them? And it's like, no. Because while they look like they would need painting, because they don't really look silver, more grey, you'd think they're meant to be gold, but they're not. Or jade even. It's just like, it's a weird kind of colour that I don't really associate much with Japan when it comes to silver stuff, or China.
When does it start?
And this is an interesting one, this particular gong as well. The second and third gongs, 3 bells doing. Because it scares the pig off the roof, which is a very cute little thing. Because it's not often you get to move the pigs without riding on them, and I quite like that you can actually scare that one off the roof with the bell. It's a really clever way of releasing that pig. course, pigs do not work well on the highway, so do not ever take a pig on the freeway or the highway or the actual road, because they cannot move at 30 to 60 miles an hour like most cars tend to. It will not end well for them. And of course I know most cars can move way faster than 60 miles an hour. I was going by speed limits there. 80 at the most when it comes to that kind of thing. Unless you're on the autobahn or some lawless highway like that. I always just love seeing Rex Fury cradling a pig like that. It's so cute. It's so against his character to just be like carrying a pig like a baby.
Ow!
Let's finally deal with this. I saw this a bit ago, but kind of ignored it. This is a really weirdly, like, wobbly path to take with this. It's very strange. Because it's very, very, very winding compared to where it really needs you to go. It's a very odd path. You'd expect it to be shorter and more straightforward, but I guess it's just games where you're trying to keep difficulty going or something like that, or keep things interesting. I like this perspective on the step buildings, though.
Perfect birthday present.
Oh?
I paid to have a star named after her.
How is that perfect?
Simple. She's been dropping hints about me giving her a bit of space.
Ooh, I think we need to talk, Kevin.
Hey, Dave, did you buy that blindfold then?
Nah.
Well, why not?
Well, I tried it on in front of a mirror, and I just couldn't see myself wearing it.
Cute pun.
So,
I do like the design
why
of
are
these
we
four
gonna
buildings,
make a
though.
mess in the Garden of Peace and Peace and Trunk,
Peace and tranquility, you numbskull!
yeah, Peace and Tranquility again.
We're doing it because I say so, and because I don't like gardens. All those lousy shrubs, thinking they're better than me. I'll give them what for.
Yeah, I think the flowers are pretty.
Plant haters? Well, not the type of criminals I usually arrest, but I'm happy to branch out.
Plants probably are better than him, honestly. At least they put down roots. Yeah, let's finally do something more at the Gardens of Peace and Tranquility. Now we actually have the name of this
Stop
area.
on anything that's green or leafy. I'm gonna find a tree to punch.
I do like the use of these gangsters that give world building as well, though, because you can. It tells you what these areas are actually called in ways that the rest of the game doesn't. Like, I never would have known without the gangs here that this area was called the Garden of Peace and Tranquility, because it was just like a general Chinese garden area. So I quite like the whole, the way they do that kind of world building a little bit, in very small optional ways that don't really matter, but... And this was lucky, this has never happened to me before. Normally the last guy jumps off and just runs off, I've never managed to have one still be down when that happens. Never been spared the chase, it was very odd. But this is a weird super build, because it's not one super build, despite the plural. It's actually two super builds, one for each arch, which is a very strange thing.
Did they remember?
I guess we're running out of places to hide them. So let's go check out the other one, shall we? I do quite like the complete kind of a circuit around these gardens. It's a cool kind of idea. Although it's not as satisfying a look build animation as the other ones can be. It's kind of lame, really. But also we've only got 9 super builds left to do, so that's pretty nice. Closing in on those. So let's take care of the character tokens we unlocked by those twin archers, shall we? Getting a bit stuck on the corners there, but there we have Fu. And no, the other one's not called Manchu, this isn't that kind of game. But yeah, there we have sort of the, not quite twins, but I think they were always shown together in cutscenes, Fu and Lee. Kind of the main henchmen of the, of Chan, I think, if I recall correctly. This is showing just where annoying these pools get really annoying, because I'm clearly pouring this water in the pool. Come on, this isn't counting, cheeky thing. And over here we have a fairly interesting set piece, even though there's not really a lot to it. You kind of expect there to be more to it than there is, but I kind of like that it's here. This little maze. While we're waiting for that to explode, instead of just sitting there watching the timer going down, we can also be taking care of this bell over here as well. I think it's obvious what this is going to find us. So let's follow it, shall we? There's the only possible place it could be. So stop. Hammer time. And there we have it, the final bell. Finally, after I started those 3 bells, like when I first came here, videos ago. But now that that's finally unlocked, we actually can pick that thing up. But first of all, let's actually explore the maze. Makes a bit more sense. I quite like the way this area flows, the maze. It's a nice little visual thing. It's a little bit different. It does some interesting camera stuff with the over the head so you can see where you're going thing. It's an interesting idea for a set piece to an area, and I always kind of like mazes and gardens and stuff. I've always liked visiting hedge mazes, although there aren't really anywhere near me, which is a shame. I'm always kind of a sucker for those. Maybe because I haven't seen one in like decades at this point. But here we go, navigating through most of these. This particular arch can be hard to see right there, because of the camera angle. That's kind of mean. But here we have a few super bricks of small ones, and a big one too. That's more just a cluster of super bricks, but it's a nice one. I quite like how it gets you there as well. That's an interesting set piece to navigate. So let's head over to that little awning, shall we? Which is actually right by the statue that we had earlier, blown up. And also right by the bomb as well. So just a cute Easter egg that I liked from that previous video. There we have Shuhui, I think. But yeah, we'll finally... Come on, pool. I'm putting the water in the pool clearly. It's not going in the pool. Water trickles, surely. It doesn't just stick to everything in the world. Water's a weird fluid in general, though. It behaves weirdly. Partially because it's like entirely... its entire structure comes out of hydrogen bonds, but there we go. Oh, there's something kind of interesting about pure water. If I remember correctly, it's not actually pure water. There's no real such thing. What's actually going on with the pH balance is the pH is kind of like a parts per million of how many, I believe it's the particular kinds of ions there are in it, because water splits into 2 ions, which are the hydroxide ions, which are the OH negative, I believe, and the hydrogen ions, which are just basically just the protons, so just H positive, really. And because of the way they have how unstable or stable they are, they're constantly recombining into H2O molecules, well, the H2O molecules are constantly breaking down into the hydrogen and hydroxide, which is why water is so perfectly imbalanced with itself, because there's always an exactly equal amount of them in that mixture. Sure, the majority of pure water is actual, like, water, but the ions make up, I believe it's something like 7 parts per million or something like that. Something that I can't remember exactly the actual maths, but it's something along those lines anyway. It's a very small amount of them, but because of how imbalanced they are, it keeps things pure. In a non-Hitlery way, of course. Of course, that was something I got from reading like a chemistry book a few years ago, so I may have misremembered, so I haven't really been formally trained in that. But I thought it was interesting if what I've read was true, or if I haven't misinterpreted it, rather. There also some interesting things to say about DNA as well in a physical, a biochem book I read at one point as well. I read some of it anyway. It was a very big book that I didn't get all the way through, but I was casually reading it in the library. Where there are aspects of DNA that theoretically don't make much sense when you're looking at like layman's laws of physics, that kind of thing in chemistry, but then when you look at things in context of the overall laws, it actually works perfectly. Like the idea, for example, that DNA is such a powerful structure, the whole nature not allowing the whole structure thing, the whole entropy thing means it would be very hard for something of that structure to survive without giving off immense amounts of heat, but apparently it does actually give off that amount of heat, so it's like, fine. Also, the reason for keeping the interesting spiral shape without the spiral going, like, crunching into itself or becoming too sparse. The reason the spiral is so consistent with itself is because every junction at the, where the DNA meets the where the rungs of the DNA, so to speak, meet the edges of the ladder, if you want to call it that, there's actually a negatively charged phosphate ion holding everything together, which are all kind of, because they're all equal charge, they're all equally repelling each other, keeping the distance fairly consistent across the entire molecule. Again, grain of salt, some of it may be misremembered chemistry and some of it may be misinterpreted from what I read the first time, because again, I'm not formally trained, but I thought it was interesting stuff, even if it is more factoids than actual facts. I just figured I'd give you that disclaimer, take what I say with a grain of salt, because I'm not a trained biochemist. I just find it kind of interesting. But there we go, we only have 100 gold bricks left to get. We're really closing in on that. And over here we have what I almost forgot about for character tokens, so let's take care of these silver lights, shall we? When he stops shooting at the pavement like an idiot, come on.
Where is it? Oh.
I quite like that you alternate a lot of the time with these. It makes an interesting pattern that you can always tell how many there'll be. And the fact that it doesn't make you do all of them is just kind of, because all of them would just be too much if there were like 6.
Where is it?
So the fact that they put some in kind of a pattern instead of just clumping them all together as well, it keeps it interesting at least. We've already got that boulder as well, so that's why I ignored that pile of boulders. We've already dealt with them. Over here we have something I completely forgot about as well. I actually had to look up where this was. This is the final thing we'll get in this video. It is this super build over here. This counts as Pagoda. I didn't realise this was Pagoda still. It's cheeky as hell, that, because it looks like it's in a festival square, but it's actually in Pagoda because it's just across the border. This park is like a little bit half in half. And it's very odd because no other landmark in the game really does that outside of like the bridges and stuff. So it's a very strange thing to get your head around, that this is actually still the Pagoda district and not Festival district. Well, let's ride this all the way around because this is a fun little ride to play with, the gravity well thing. And I'll see you next time when we explore the next few areas. Bye.